Hello and welcome to the ROKER RAPPORT podcast in association with Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen. My name is Rich Speight and I'm joined for this preview of the Oxford United game on Saturday at the Stadium of Light by Gav. How are you this morning, Gav?
I'm alright, mate. Yes, feeling refreshed after a little walk down the beach, despite the fact, as I was telling you off air, I couldn't get a coffee, which put us off to a bad start. Scandalous, I know. There's a million coffee shops down there. But yeah, other than that, I'm good.
Well, maybe everyone's been hit by this COVID bug, which means that I'm hosting today. And we couldn't secure a guest from Oxford United, but we're going to have half an hour good old chin wag about the game coming up tomorrow. Before we go into that, though, this week we had the Player of the Year awards at the Stadium of Light. A few of our gang were down there, and it sounds like a good time was had by all, including some of our friends from the soup kitchen who we invited along to join us on our table. It was a lovely night. Both the lads and the lasses were there in force, and awards were handed out. Player of the Year went, unsurprisingly, to Ross Stewart. Do you think that that was pretty much nailed on, Gav?
Not necessarily, no. Which might sound daft to some people, but I think although he's been our top scorer this season, there have been other players who've contributed arguably as much. That does sound a little daft when I say it like that, but Alex Pritchard, for instance, I think has been brilliant, and I don't think we would have had anywhere near as many points on the board without his influence. So he was a shout. Bailey Wright, for me, since the turn of the year, has been superb, so he was in with a shout. But to be fair, Ross Stewart with the goals, it's hard to argue, really, isn't it? I think did Charlie White win it last year? Similar sort of circumstances, really. You can't really not give it to the man who's got all the goals. So yeah, I'm glad for Ross, though. I think he deserves it. I think his form in the last sort of 6-7 games hasn't been great. But hopefully that gives him a boost, because we need him to be scoring goals. We've seen in the last 6-7 games other players have had to step up, and the fact that we don't concede so many goals now means that we're not feeling the burden of his sort of drop off in form. But I think he'll come good towards the end of the season, and yeah, he's been great this season, so well deserved. And
Dan Neil won the Men's Young Player of the Year award as well, which I guess was for me wasn't unexpected either. A really popular figure, but a boost for him as well, because he's been in and out of the side recently. Yeah, and again, I think there were other contenders, namely Anthony Patterson. I think when you look at his influence in the last, basically since Alex Neil came in, the amount of clean sheets we've kept. He was in the team earlier in the season, did absolutely fine, went out on loan to Notts County where they absolutely loved him. Then we brought him back because of the problem that Lee Burge had with his heart, and he came back and has stole the number 1 shirt, kept a raft of clean sheets, just went about his business rather quietly, unassumedly. And I think if you look at the two players, he's probably been more consistent than Dan Neil, to be fair. I can't think of many bad games from Patterson. His trajectories only went up and up, and obviously Neil's had a little bit of a tail off, and he's had that little spell where he wasn't able to get in the team. He still hasn't been able to get into the team. But, I mean, if we're talking about who's made the biggest impact, it's got to be Dan Neil, hasn't it? He's made such a huge impact on the first team. He's came into the side and tore it up, and that's why teams higher up the pyramid are looking at him. So, no, again, brilliant. And fingers crossed we can hang on to him, because there'll be many more awards, I'm sure, if he stays. Yeah, and one thing I thought was kind of similarity between the two is the fact that they're both players who everyone should expect to play at a higher level and represent their countries as well in one way or another. So,
of course, I forgot about that. To be fair, I forgot about that. Forgot about the fact he's broken the England setup as well, which is another big plus point. So yeah, and on the women's side, another young player who's playing under 19s, Niamh Heron got Young Player of the Year. She wasn't there to receive it, but the legendary captain Kira Ramshaw won Women's Player of the Year for the second year running, despite all of the challenges that she's had off the pitch. So that was great to see as well. And like I say, everyone had a really good time, and some of the photos are a class from the evening. Don't forget about George Forster as well, of course. He got his Lifetime Achievement Award,
Yeah, legendary George, and people can go back and listen to our interviews and songs we've had from George over the years. I think it was the International pod International Fans Day pod just before COVID, where we got a nice song out of George. That's always a good one to go back and listen to. But we've got a game to talk about. We haven't got an Oxford fan to talk about, but we have been doing our research to a certain extent on Oxford United.
Is that what we're calling it? Research?
Absolutely.
Couple of minutes before we hit record, we're like, so the top scorer, yeah. I think we know enough about Oxford, don't we?
Yeah, but anyone who looks at them this season will see a team that has probably, in some respects, overachieved from what we might have said at the beginning of the season. But Karl Robinson's got them playing very attacking football. Seems to be kind of like a, you score 3, we'll score 4 kind of attitude to trying to achieve promotion. They've scored a lot, they've conceded a lot, and they're in different forms. So what do you make of Oxford then?
I think I'm reluctant to really take the recent form, and I say recent form, they've lost the last 2, drawn a game. So, I'm reluctant to take that too seriously because I don't know if that's going to really matter too much going into this game. To be honest, I think that Oxford, whenever they play us, for whatever reason, there's always a bit of needle there. Karl Robinson loves playing against Sunderland. We've seen down the years while we've been in League One that we've always had a bit of a battle against them, and I don't think this will be any different, if I'm honest. I think the fact that they've been missing some of their best players in recent games has been a factor in the fact that they've lost games recently. So, and Karl Robinson, when he spoke to the local media there before the game, he did mention that and said, we haven't had Cameron Brannigan, who is the top scorer from midfield, I think, in the league. They haven't had him recently. He's back for the game. They haven't had Elliot Moore, who's a big player for them. He's back for the game. So it's going to be a different Oxford team to the one that's probably been out there the last few weeks and picked up some bad results. But at the same time, and we rarely do this as Sunderland fans, we rarely give ourselves credit as a team. And I think anybody who's coming up against Sunderland now has to, look at the fact that since Alex Neil's come in, we've become very tough to beat. We don't concede a lot of goals. We're very organised. We're picking up wins. Maybe not doing it by playing silky flowing football, but we are picking up wins. And I think people are going to really struggle to work out how to approach us, and that's a big advantage for us going into this game because we've got all of these options, and we were talking about it before we came on air there. We've got all of these players coming back now to full fitness. Broadhead got 30 minutes in the last game. Pritchard got an hour or so. Danny Bart got a full game. These are all players that at this level should be able to make a real impact. And for majority of the recent season, I say from probably Christmas onwards, we haven't really had them. So coming into the business end of the season to get your best players available and fit, and to have a squad which has got so many different options in there, makes us a really tough opposition for anybody. And I'm just praying now that the fact we've had a week off compared to them who they played on Tuesday night, we've had a week to prepare for the game. We've got no new injury concerns. We should be fully focused. We're coming into it with a little bit of momentum. We're not conceding goals. I think that it should be Oxford who are looking over their shoulders and not Sunderland. And we just go into this game and we approach it like we do every other game. We just go in there and we be ruthless, and we get the points. And obviously the two defeats that Oxford have had recently, that's going to be on their minds, I think, a little bit. They might not be as all out attack as they normally are, particularly when you look at the league table, and you see this game means as much to them as it does us because they can leapfrog us in the table. They can potentially even leapfrog Wickham. So it's a huge game, but I'm certainly not fearing Oxford, and I think Alex Neil said that, didn't he, during the week? He said there's nobody in this league I'm not scared of, and that's the attitude we have to have.
Yeah, we certainly, with our squad, we can't be going into these games expecting anything other than a win. And there's been some talk this week of the fact that they've got a slightly easier run-in than many in the next few games, and therefore a draw might not be a terrible result for them. But
I don't know, mind Rich, because they've got MK Dons and Rotherham to play, who are both still in the run for the title, aren't they? And both in the run for automatic promotion. I think Rotherham have dropped off a little. So Oxford I know they've got Doncaster and Fleetwood who are poor. But when you look at it, 3 of their 5 games are against promotion teams or teams who are in the running, us included. So I don't know. I think maybe if I could take that if they'd maybe beaten Morecambe in midweek, but they didn't. They got beat.
Well, yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely, and that was a big result. Former Sunderland goalkeeper Trevor Kassam, I think, pulling Morecambe through right at the end with a great save. A big result, really, possibly for our season. But this one is big as well, and Alex Neil was sounding very prepared in his pre-match comments, noting that they've been switching from 5 at the back to 4 at the back, or 3 at the back to 4 at the back. And that he's prepared for both scenarios. I was reading some comments from Sam Long, one of their defenders, actually, who was saying that that switching between the back 3 and back 4 might well have unsettled them, which is interesting that he was that candid about that. And his quote that I pulled out was that we turn out every game hoping to get a clean sheet. We play a way that leaves us susceptible at the back, but 9 times out of 10 this season it's worked. But I think in this case, we're going to be that 1 out of 10 because I think you're right. I think you're right because we haven't, since we played Wigan, played a team who play like that, and you saw it very briefly in the game last weekend. When it was probably one of the only occasions in the game where they got forward and we broke quickly, and I think Corey Evans set Broadhead away. Broadhead played it back to him and he put it over the bar. And we never get to do that. We never get to counter against teams, but we've got the players to do it. And hopefully on this occasion, we can actually enact that a little bit more, given Oxford are the home side and we're the away side. They like to play on the ball. They're not going to sit behind the ball like some of these teams have. Yeah, your puppy's going mad in the background there. I can see.
He's fighting with his new toy. I don't know if you can see him. He's just decided to come to life. Looks like a leak
or something.
He's just decided to come to life as I record the podcast, which is typical, isn't it? But there we go.
Totally, yeah. Mine was barking away when you were talking earlier.
Well, that's it. That's his debut on the pod, though. It's normally my other one that chimes in. So at least everyone gets to hear the new puppy.
Well, let's dog talk. More kind of talk about Oxford, I guess. They've got a prolific goal scorer like we have, Matt Taylor, whose stats are really impressive. Really, he's obviously played 41 with 22 goals, goal at 154 minutes per goal.
Scored against us at the Stadium of Light as well. Don't forget.
Yeah, conversion rate of 25%, which is decent. So as much as we can go into this with confidence, we've got a bigger challenge, I think, possibly than some of the games we've had under Alex Neil in terms of the players we've got to deal with going forward. Are you confident that we will be able to cope?
I'm confident. I don't think there's anybody in this league who we should necessarily fear, like I said before. I know they've got good players. Taylor has 22 goals in the league, so clearly he's very good. But Bailey Wright and Danny Bart have both shown recently that they've got the aptitude to be able to deal with anybody. So I'm certainly not doubting their credentials in that regard. Gavin White's a really good player. Again, another one we need to look out for. Brannigan's the one, I think. I think sometimes with Sunderland, you fear that if we don't win the midfield battle, that we will struggle in the game. And if he's coming back into the team, he'll make an impact, I'm sure. And he's got goals in his locker. And that's the one area of the pitch where I do worry about us is midfield. Although, to be fair, I know Corey Evans is the whipping boy at the minute and everyone's least favourite player. But last 2 games, he's been fine for me. I think, I was sat in front of a bloke at the game last weekend who was slating Alex Neil for not taking him off with about 5 minutes to go, and I was thinking, well, has Evans actually played badly today? I don't think he has, but I just think when people get it in their head that this player's terrible, they just don't want to see him on the pitch, do they? So I think if Evans can carry on putting in better performances, if we can work out who his best partner is, I think it's going to be O'Nien. I talked about this on the pod last weekend, but I've just got a feeling that we'll probably go a little bit more reserved with our team selection in this one. And I think in the run to the end of the season, we'll probably see Evans and O'Nien pairing up more often than not in the middle. So yeah, it's going to be a midfield battle, and we're going to have to work out really where we can hurt them. I know they play with 5 at the back, mainly, and I looked at when they played Ipswich, and they set up with 5 at the back, and Ipswich took a point off them at Oxford, and Oxford only got a last minute equaliser in that game, and Ipswich actually matched them up. Ipswich went with a 4 in midfield, 3 at the back, 3 up front. So I'm guessing really when it comes to this game, Alex Neil's probably looking at it and thinking, yeah, we don't fear anybody, but can I afford to play Jack Clark and Patrick Roberts in this game? I reckon probably not, and I think they might come out of the team in favour of maybe Lyndon Gooch and Broadhead, who are a little bit different in that they are probably defensively better than those two, and I think we're going to have to do a lot of running in this game with Oxford and the way they play. They like to hold on to the ball, so I think that might come into his thinking. We're probably going to go a little bit more reserved, but we're probably likely to see, like we have throughout his time so far at the club, we'd like to see an experienced streak right through the team. I wouldn't get me hopes up about seeing Dan Neil or Matete or Clark playing in this game. I just don't think it's going to happen. But ultimately, we've just got to go there, and we've got to recognise that we can't afford to slip up. It's as simple as that. There aren't many games left. It doesn't matter who we're playing, whether it's Oxford or it's Rotherham or whoever else that we've got in this run towards the end of the season. These are just teams in front of us who are in front of us, and to get past them, we get the 3 points, and that's it. It doesn't matter whether they're good or bad teams, and this is no different. We've got to go there. We've got to win. It's as simple as that, isn't it? We look at the league table. I was talking to my mate about this the other day. We look at the league table. We're 7th. We're outside of the playoffs, and we're one of the most informed teams in the league. And that just shows you that despite the fact that we've been great recently, the teams also in the running for those spots, they haven't let up. They're in similar form to us. Wickham, Sheffield, these teams, they're in similar form to Sunderland. And regardless of the fact that we've improved, we can't dwell on that, because as soon as we slip up, one of them will take advantage, and that's another spot gone. So yeah. I'm just praying we win.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, I guess, kind of the difference in schedules and fixtures and how that might play into this and maybe some of the future fixtures as well, because obviously we decided to continue playing through small COVID outbreaks over kind of the Christmas period, got ourselves knocked out of the trophy nice and early this season, thankfully. And so we haven't had a great build-up of fixtures, which has meant that I guess this is like basically we've had 3 weeks with one game in it, which has given Neil a lot of time on the training pitch. It's allowed those teams around us to kind of catch up the games in hand that some of them had, and the league table's looking a little bit more real now in terms of the amount of games played between different teams is not hugely, there's not a huge disparity as there was a few weeks ago. So we're in that position now where we're fresh. We've got a lot of options. We've got a lot of people who've come back from injury, and Alex Neil, one thing that's impressed me, I think it's impressed a lot of people, is his ability to make the right change in the game to affect the game. And you look, you've ran through a potential starting 11 with a bit more experience, maybe a little less explosive flair, and kind of purely forward play from Clark and Roberts. But when you've got those players on the bench, plus Dan Neil, Matete, Elliot Embleton, possibly, that gives Neil a huge amount of kind of scope to change the game. And that's been one of the key things, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said before, the squad we've got is better than any in the league, in my view, in terms of depth. I don't even think Rotherham have got the depth that we've got. So you've got to use that to your advantage. And again, Alex Neil has said this repeatedly. He knows what he's got at his disposal, and he picks the team game to game because he's got all of these options. He doesn't pick a team and it wins and think, right, well, I've got to play with the same team in the next game. Because when you think about it, that logically makes no sense. You've got to pick a team based on the opponent. In the last 3 home games, for instance, we've played poor teams, and he's picked a team which, all right, might leave us a little bit open at the back in terms of defensive structure, but he's recognised that we're playing teams who are going to sit back, and he's picked players who will dominate the ball. In this game, I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to sit back and let Oxford batter us. I don't think that's the way it will play. But we won't have 80% possession like we did last weekend. So I think he's got to pick players who are going to work hard off the ball. The only worry I've really got in terms of Nathan Broadhead is that whenever he's been pushed in the past, he's re-injured himself. And given he's only played half an hour of football in a month, I'm talking myself out of him starting. I think he might start with. He might even.
out of it.
I think he might even start Elliot Embleton on that side. It's been noted in the past that Embleton, when he played for England at youth level, was a left back, and that he's thought of as a very good player out of possession in terms of his defensive shape and structure. So, given the fact that he came on and set one of the goals up, given the fact he can play on the left, given the fact we know we can rely on him to work hard, maybe it would make more sense actually to play Embleton. So yeah, I've just totally talked myself out of that one. To be honest, as much as I would love to see Nathan Broadhead start the game, I just think it's a little bit of a risk in a game where you're going to be running a lot and you're going to be expected to, work harder than we probably have in any of the recent games, because Oxford are going to dominate the ball. There's going to be a lot of running side to side, dropping in, helping the fullbacks and stuff. That maybe his impact will be better felt from the bench.
Yeah. He's certainly a player who can come on and, he's not going to not do anything in that kind of final stages of a game. If you're needing a goal, he's proactive. He'll go and get the ball. Like say, he'll drop deep. Yeah. He'll be good on the counter, and maybe for somebody with such kind of injury-prone hamstrings, it might be an idea to be going up against tired defenders rather than fresh ones. And I think
regardless,
beat them.
Yeah, regardless of the situation, whether we're winning, drawing, or losing, he is a player who makes an impact from the bench. If you need to hold on to a lead, he's going to work hard for you. If you're drawing, he'll get you a goal. If you're winning, then you bring him on and just that shows it up. You can take off maybe say Ross Stewart, give him 20 minutes rest, bring on Broadhead up front if you're winning and you're comfortable. Well, you can't say that about a lot of players. I don't think you can. He's an all-rounder, isn't he? So you can't rely on every player in whatever given situation to make an impact, where I think with Broadhead you can. But yeah, I think if I was picking the team now, I would go with the same back five. I don't think you're going to see any major changes in defence this season from now, unless Bart or Wright get injured, because I don't know, when we keep talking about experience, those are the two most experienced central defenders that we've got. And we spent a decent wedge on Danny Bart in January, because he's a championship defender. So now he's fit, let's play him. And also, because we don't have a lot of height in the team, he adds something, doesn't he? He's not just another 6 foot, 5'11" player like the rest of them. He's got height, so he's a threat in both boxes, and we need that. So yeah, I would go with the same back five. Patterson's done absolutely nothing wrong to deserve to be dropped, and providing he stays injury-free, he'll play every game between now and the end of the season, I think, and that's a credit to him, because I did doubt whether he was ready, but he's come in and he hasn't had a lot to do, to be fair, but when he has had stuff to do, he's done it. And I'm not so sure that you could say the same for Thorben Hoffman, when in games sometimes if he had nothing to do, when it came to the crunch, he would switch off. I think with Patterson, he does keep himself ready. So Patterson, Cirk in left back, Winchester will come in at right back again, purely because he's fancied there, even though I thought he was poor last weekend. Wright and Bart in the middle of the defence. Like I said before, Luke O'Neill will probably partner Corey Evans. I can't see any major change in the centre of the park, with Pritchard just ahead of him, them buzzing around and doing his thing like he does. Embleton on the left, I've definitely talked myself into that. I just think, as much as I want to see Broadhead in the team, that makes a bit more sense given he's fit and he made an impact in the last match. Gooch out on the right won't please people. And I think you look at those two wide options and you think, well, where's the creativity coming from? And you'd be right. But I just wonder, will Lyndon Gooch be a bit more suited to this game than Patrick Roberts? I guess we're going to find out soon enough. But he likes Lyndon Gooch, doesn't he? Even if it's not in every game, he does come on when he isn't starting and stuff like that.
You say that they've got 12 assists between them this season. After Pritchard and Neil, our next top creative players are Embleton and Gooch. Probably had a few more minutes than some of the other players on the list, but they do create chances. Gooch has created the second most chances in the team this season at 41. Creates over a chance a game.
Well, I think last weekend, though, I don't know about you, Rich, but I thought when he came on, he did all right. I know he came on at right back, but in the game, and I talked about this on the last pod, so I'm going over all ground here. But in the game, the two wide players consistently cut inside, and that restricted how much width we had on the pitch because we weren't getting any width from the full-backs. So Neil opted to put him on at right back, which was again throwing caution to the wind slightly, in that we were leaving ourselves a little bit more open defensively. But when Gooch came on, he gave us that width that we didn't have previously, and he was just pulling the ball wide on the right and whipping it in. So I think he can make an impact. It's just he's so inconsistent. But you just got to trust the manager. You got to trust the players that he's picking. Yeah. And like I say, he's made some unpopular decisions recently with sticking with Corey Evans being top of the list. And we're picking up results, so who am I to argue? If he picks Lyndon Gooch, then fair play.
Well, looking at Gooch's stats, he's played 35 games this season, hasn't scored a goal. So, law of averages, he's due one. So, if he does play, maybe it's the game where he can get himself off the mark for the season.
I'd love him. I don't think anyone who is a Sunderland fan wants Lyndon Gooch not to do well. No. The reason that people get so annoyed with him is because we know that he's got it in his locker. Like, didn't he score 10, 11 goals a couple of seasons ago in this league? Yeah. So we know that he can score goals. It's just for whatever reason he hasn't had a great season. But like you've just said, law of averages says that he's gonna probably score one at some point. So
yeah, I mean, I've got written into my mind the flying volley he scored against Accrington a couple of seasons back. That was one of the best goals I've seen for a long time. So he's definitely capable of it, and let's hope if he does get a start tomorrow, maybe he'll chip in with that goal. So I think we've basically covered all the ground there, Gav. Hope everyone who's travelling down from Sunderland has a safe journey there and back, and has fun, and hopefully we'll come back with 3 points. There's going to be plenty of pre-match stuff on the website for you this weekend. Also have a couple of specials for some of the lasses who've been playing for England this week at age group levels as well. So plenty of content coming up on ROKERReport.com, and we hope to speak to you soon. See you later, Gav.
See you later.